with Bitshares is you can trade without letting go of your coins.
Oh, wow. Okay. So if people have coins on another exchange, are they transferable into Bitshares?
Yes. Now, there's two kinds of coins: native and external blockchains. Okay, so an example of an external would be Bitcoin or Ethereum. They're on their own blockchain, and so if you are going to try to trade them, you will need to essentially trade a surrogate coin that's provided by a gateway. OpenLedger would be an example of a favorite or a famous one, openledger.info. They will do the same thing a centralized exchange does with those external coins. They'll take them and hold them for you and give you a poker chip type of trading token that you can then put on Bitshares along with all the other native tokens. The native tokens trade without counterparty risk, but the tokens that represent external chains, they still need to be cashed out through the person who put them on there for you, the company that did that. So in that way, you can trade anything on the Bitshares network, but to have the full advantages of a decentralized network, you would want to trade assets that are issued there natively, and a lot of ICOs are starting to do that because they want the high performance for their business application.
Where do you see cryptocurrency going into 2018? I asked that because I read an article this morning where a lot of banks, a lot of big brand banks are actually blocking or locking people's account who are purchasing cryptocurrency. It seems like there's a lot of fear in this space, especially from big banks. But going into 2018, what do you see happening with cryptocurrency, and particularly when it comes to the centralizing and regulation of purchases?
Well, I wrote an article just a few weeks ago called "The Great Bitcoin Train Wreck of 2018." Okay, now what's that all about? Well, there's several forces that are all happening. There's the instability of the U.S. dollar. People have been predicting its demise for a long time, but 2018 looks like a good time for a currency reset. It might not happen then, but that's one wobbling instability that will drive people out of the dollar and into safety. And when they can't get enough precious metals, they go into digital currencies, and the first one they've heard of is Bitcoin. So that's a force driving Bitcoin up. On the other hand, there are forces that will rock the boat. Certainly the governmental regulatory agencies around the world, not just in the U.S., but everywhere, are going to be gearing up to crack down on all the bad ICOs and people who are violating what that particular country perceives to be as their monetary policy. And every time they do a big takedown, and they'll probably do a takedown every month all year long, or maybe many takedowns, that will certainly cause Mt. Gox kind of panics that will, rock the boat in the industry. And then the big train wreck is every company out there that didn't do their homework technically when they were deciding what kind of coin to build their business on, and they picked the most popular one, like Bitcoin or Ethereum, are going to find out that their business doesn't run on them because those networks are totally clogged and bogged down. And therefore, all of those companies are going to come to a screeching halt and have to retool into some kind of a real-time blockchain like Bitshares. And we've already seen that trend. I've talked to, we're going to probably announce 5 or maybe even 7 this month that are switching over to Bitshares because they've encountered that very problem. They built on Ethereum and then found out it didn't work. There was an amusing incident, something called CryptoKitties, a little kind of a game that got to be popular on Ethereum. It brought the whole network to a total clog because it used up all the transaction bandwidth. You can't do other things. Yeah. People who are doing ICOs on Ethereum are finding, there's a backlog on people trying to buy their coin. So that's another force in 2018 that I think will come to a head. And that means it's a wonderful opportunity to both make and lose money. But once again, you can't just blindly go out and buy what everyone else is buying. You need to do your homework.
Yeah. So one of the focuses of the show, Stan, is keeping things like my audience there. We're very basic, like fundamentals. People who are just getting started, or people who are established, but still looking to keep the fundamentals in place. So you mentioned this already, but just want to circle back. So Bitshares is the blockchain technology, but it's also a coin.
Yeah, yes, there's a base coin in Bitshares that is used to basically create some of the other more advanced products, smart coins that are stable in price, smart coins that appreciate at 5% annually. Interesting coins that are desperately needed out there because they don't have counterparty risk. Like Tether is a popular coin with about $1 billion worth in circulation, but they state explicitly that they don't guarantee to back it at all. So people are buying tethers to get stability with respect to the dollar, and they've been told specifically that it's not guaranteed to be redeemed. That's far worse than another company that might be backing it with gold and promising to give you a gold coin. There's still risk there with that particular company because if it goes out of business or gets shut down, you could lose your money. But at least it's there, it's registered, it's making public promises and telling you who is behind it. And so that's far better than that. But then you get to assets on the Bitshares network. Those are backed by honest robots that there's no centralized authority there. So Bitshares as a token is used to back coins that are stable, and you don't have any counterparty between you and that promise to redeem the coin for the backing Bitshares that are out there.
So as we start to wind down here a little bit, Stan, I want to talk. I had a couple more questions. So last week when we spoke to Kira, we talked a little bit about the Billionaire Hero campaign, and I wanted to just get your perspective on that and actually just explain a little bit further what that actually is.
Oh yeah, that's very good. What we wanted to do was create a place where newbies, like you just talked about, could go and learn how to use digital currencies in a non-threatening, fun way, and yet one that was interesting inherently. So we created billionherocampaign.com. It's probably going to go online in its full mode. You can go there right now and sign up for the newsletter and get notified when the games start. But it's making a game out of learning how to use digital currencies. So it teaches you one little step at a time. You can earn kind of monopoly money called free rows that are good for voting rights for selecting which of 12 good causes, and anybody can register a good cause, is going to be awarded a $1 billion prize at the end of the contest. The $1 billion prize is actually a prize that's worth $1 million right now. And so the whole nature of the game is, hey, Bitcoin has gone from 1 million to 1 billion in the past couple years. Ethereum has done that. Lots of other coins have gone up by a factor of 10 or 1,000. Bitshares itself is up by a factor of 100 this year. So it's not unreasonable at all to imagine that this $1 million prize that we put out there could grow in a matter of a couple years to be worth $1 billion. So while you're playing the game, you can also look at the different causes out there. It could be anything from building a water plant in Africa somewhere, or rebuilding a Caribbean island, or a whole bunch of interesting, big, heroic, audacious projects is what we call them. And so we're trying to use that to demonstrate to people two things. A, that even if you put $1 into Bitshares and then watch us have this campaign, when our $1 million grows to $1 billion, your $1 is going to grow to 1,000 because that's just the escalation in price. And we've got all kinds of businesses that are signing up, doing that. I can name 7 of them after we announce them this year, that are taking their revenue streams, a piece of the revenue streams, and using it to buy Bitshares with the same strategy of having that buying pressure cause the price of Bitshares to go up. And so unlike Bitcoin and Ethereum that grew randomly due to speculation, we're building an entire industry that is going to buy Bitshares and collectively raise the price. So that means that all their earnings will grow by a factor of 1,000. So it's a way to amplify their own business models. And because everybody is doing it, everybody reinforces everybody else's nest egg. And in the process drives up the Billion Hero Prize that we're going to give away. And so you can learn all about that at billionherocampaign.com.
Yeah, and we'll link to it in the show notes as well as the contact information for yourself as well, Stan. So one last question as far as the Billionaire Hero Campaign. The game is concerned. Is it just online, or is there an app as well?
No, it's just online.
Okay.
The game itself is in development, and it will have lots of components, and it'll be growing. It'll never end in terms of until we give away the prize. In terms of adding features to it, it's intended to be a training tool where people can learn about this sort of thing. But right now, if you go there, you can hear more about it and then sign up for the newsletter that'll announce when the game begins.
All right. And last question, Stan. So what's one piece of advice for new investors, somebody just getting started in the cryptocurrency space?
Well, I would say my biggest piece of advice is do not be a lemming. Don't go buy something because everybody's buying it. I will tell you right now, the things they are buying are broken and oversold or overbought. And it's not a good idea to just walk in and say, well, what's going up today? Oh, look at what the herd's doing. I'm going to do some of that. Now, understand what you're buying. Do your homework. It's easy. You go to coinmarketcap.com and you can click on any of the assets, and that'll take you to a website or something describing that asset, and you can dig into the ones you find appealing and learn something about it. So I would do that. There's another really great website called blocktivity.info, BLOCKTIVITY. And that particular site shows you the busyness or the utility or the number of transactions that are going on different exchanges. And when you look there, you see the ones that are really being used as opposed to the ones that are just making promises.
Yeah, I'm actually, as you were saying, the website, I'm on here right now, and it looks like right now number one is Ethereum.
Well, if you look at the column, there one shows the average moving average in the current past week, and there's another one that shows the record, and you'll see that Bitshares and Steemit hold the records for most transactions processed in a day. Yeah. And Ethereum is trying to catch up, but then you look at the important one, which is what I call the sweatometer over there towards the right of the right-hand column, and it will show the degree of loading on the networks. And you'll see that Bitcoin and Ethereum are nearly maxed out. A lot of times they have a big triangle on there showing that they have a backlog where they're not processing things. They're waiting to process it. And you'll notice the sweatometers for Bitshares and Steemit aren't even moving off zero. So,
oh wow, yeah.
When you do your evaluation, you'll notice that those four blockchains are all competing on a daily basis for being number one in utility, and at the same time, two of them are maxed out. They can't grow. All they can do is raise their prices to ration their bandwidth to the highest bidder, whereas Steemit and Bitshares are running cool and costing you pennies to use.
That's amazing.
Steemit is free.
Yeah, that's and it's crazy because you're right. And this is something that I had to learn when I first got started. Like I would make purchases on coins based off what was popular. You're right. I admitted to it. And I was like, oh, well, Bitcoin is popular. Litecoin is popular. But now that I'm looking at what you just revealed to us, it's like, wow, Steemit and Bitshares are in the green. Like they're barely off the bottom. So that's really, truly amazing. So thank you. And I'll link to this in the show notes as well, people, so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Is you just opened up my eyes. It's amazing. So I appreciate that, Stan.
Yeah, no problem.
So where can people get a hold of you? Where can people find out more information about Bitshares and the Billionaire Hero Campaign? Well,
billionherocampaign.com is the place where you can get a nice, easy, gamified on-ramp. If you want to just read some stuff, I would go to sovereignhero.com. And, of course, there's the bitshares.org website that you can go to and just look at the standard kind of information about a coin and all the features that are built into Bitshares.
Awesome. And I do have one final question before we sign off. there are actually two questions. So the